So here it is, the long-awaited podcast available on Spotify. Have you ever thought, what if racism was a virus? What are the lessons that we can draw from the pandemic? My name is Dr. Shungu H, and I'm a psychologist and anti-racism expert. We learned so much from the pandemic, from the COVID-19 pandemic, and this made me think about the progress that we're making or not making in the area of challenging racism. So why is progress so slow, and what can we draw from the pandemic analogy? This podcast is based on an article I wrote entitled, "What if racism was a virus? How would we eradicate it?" In each episode, I will feature, along with Raphael Damilola Aboyeji, who is a biologist. The podcast is produced by Gari Gono, who is a producer of No Brown in Town. In the podcast series, we'll talk about how the analogy has greater utility when we focus on other areas of discrimination as well. So on other human biases and discriminations. The first episode of the podcast reflects and links to the key principles in my book, Understanding and Dealing with Everyday Racism, the 6 Stages Framework. In this episode, we consider the following: the concept of the racism virus, as outlined in my article. We explore what viruses are and how this links to the 6 Stages Framework. We explore our understanding of biases and prejudices and discrimination. And we consider how racist views are spread. We go on to consider the analogy of the asymptomatic racists and why we should worry about low-key racist language, views, and behavior. We consider how low-key racist behaviors lower the baseline and enable racism to spread. In this episode, we introduce the 6 Stages Framework as a psychological tool for mapping the development of the racism virus and its antigens, i.e., its signs and symptoms. So join me, listen to the podcast, and then on the 7th of July this year, I'm going to be running a workshop on Eventbrite for us to consider your views and thoughts on this podcast. So come and join me. It's going to be taking place at 1900 hours BST, and that's on the 7th of July. Enjoy the podcast, and I look forward to seeing you on Eventbrite.